This video covers assignment 17-2. We are going to do page 1 together, and then you're going to do the remaining pages using the tools that we talk about in the first 5 problems. So problem 1 wants us to write an equation of a line passing through the points 2, 3, and -4, 9 in A, slope-intercept form, and B, standard form, and then they want us to graph the line, but there's no graph shown, so we're only going to do the first 2 parts. So for slope-intercept form, anytime I have 2 points, I'm going to use stat calc. Now this does tell us it's a line, so we're going to use stat calc 4. So I'm going to click stat and enter and put my points in. Remember, your x's go in the left-hand column, the y's in the right, and the points need to be across from each other. So from here, I click stat, scroll to calc, option 4, enter, and I get y equals -1x plus 5. You could also put -x plus 5. And then in order to put it in standard form, remember standard form is the ax plus by equals c form. Right now I have x's and y's on the same side, on opposite sides. So I'm going to move x. Every time we change sides, we change signs. So if it's negative on the right side, it will be positive on the left. And then for this problem, that's really all we have to do. The 2 things you have to look out for in standard form are x's and y's need to be on the same side, and you can't have any fractions. For number 2, they want us to write the equation of the line passing through the point 2, 3 that's parallel to y equals 3x plus 5 in slope-intercept form. And again, the graphs didn't copy, so we're not going to worry about graphing. So parallel slopes, remember parallel is like the L's in parallel. We want them to be across from each other, never ever crossing. So that means we're going to use an m value that's exactly the same slope from my original equation. Now, I don't need anything else in that equation, so don't go ham on it, but you can cross it out because that's the only thing we need. Then we have the point 2, 3, and we're going to use those 2 things. We have a point and a slope, so we're going to plug into point slope. So y minus the y from my point equals mx minus the x from my point. Just to refresh, if you need it, this is on your formula chart, but point slope looks like this. So that's what we're plugging into. And then they want it in slope-intercept form, which is y equals mx plus b, otherwise known as y by itself. So we're going to use don't call me after midnight to solve for y. I do need to distribute, so 3 times x and 3 times -2. And then y is over here by itself, so I do need to add 3 to the other side. So y equals 3x minus 3 would be my equation. If I wanted to check this, my original line was 3x plus 5. My new line is 3x minus 3. If I go to the graph, I can see that these lines are parallel. Remember, the second line is the one that I use, so if I go to the table, for the second equation, the point 2, 3 is on my second equation or my new equation. So that is one way that you can check your work there. Number 3, similar idea. We want it to go through the point 6, -9 and be perpendicular to that line in slope-intercept form. So perpendicular means we flop the slope. Remember, flopposite. So we're going to take 3, we're going to flip it to 1/3, and we're going to make it the opposite sign. So that's going to turn into a -1/3. And then our point is 6, -9. Remember, once you've stolen the slope, you're done with that equation. So again, plug into point slope. Y, opposite sign, y point. M, x, opposite sign, x point. And from here, we're going to use our don't call me after midnight again. We're going to do the same 2 steps. So distribute, -1/3 times x. And negative 1/3 times negative 6, if you're not sure what that is, use your calculator. Negative 1/3 times negative 6 is a positive 2. The left side stayed the same. And then I will need to move my 9 to the other side. And so we end up with negative 1/3 x, and then 2 minus 9 is negative 7. Again, if we wanted to check, I originally started with 3x plus 5. I'm now looking at negative 1/3 x minus 7. So if I graph these lines, I can see that they cross at a T, not just that they cross, they specifically cross and make 90-degree angles. And if I go to the table, the point 6, negative 9 is on my second equation. Problem 4 wants us to write equations of lines that go through the point 5, 8 and are parallel to an axis or perpendicular to an axis. So we're going to draw a couple of quick pictures here to explain it, and then once we've drawn our pictures, we will write our equations. So the point 5, 8 on all of these is going to go to the right and up. So it doesn't really matter where you put it as long as you see that it's going right and up. Parallel to the x-axis. Parallel means the same, so they want it the same as the x-axis. If this is my x-axis, this would be my line that is the same as the x-axis. That line is going through the y-axis, and it will always be y equals the y from your points. Perpendicular to the x-axis. Perpendicular means crossing, so they want me to cross through the x-axis, so it crosses through the x-axis at the x point. Remember, every time you're writing these are our only two options. You will never have like y equals 5 or x equals 8 because those aren't in the right spots. So if you have any multiple choice questions, you can always cross out things that don't match. And then parallel to y would be the same as y, so the y-axis goes up and down. That cuts through the x-axis. And then perpendicular to y would be cutting through y, so it goes through y at the y point. And then number 5, we use don't call me after midnight because they've asked us to solve for a variable. They want us to solve using volume equals length times width times height, and they want us to solve for W. So I'm trying to get W by itself. I do not have any parentheses. I do not have any repeated terms. I only have W on one side. I don't have any plus or minuses, which means I only have one step. The length and the height are being multiplied. Remember, it's multiplication because we do not see any symbols in between L and W and H. So I'm going to divide by L and H. Whatever I do to one side, I have to do on the other. So on the right side, they cancel and I just have W. On the left side, not a trick question or not a trick thing, but B, L, and H are not the same letters. So I simply rewrite them like I see it. And that is all I'm looking for. So, if you flip the page, they ask you to try these, show work where necessary. So make sure you're showing work here. You can be working backwards, like taking some of these, if they're already solved for y, you can put them in y equal and see which of those follows what they've asked, or you can be working forward. So like number 3, you could plug these into y equals, see which one, they all have a slope of 3, but see which one has that point. Or you could plug the point and the slope into point slope and see which one gives you this equation. So make sure you do all of 17-2. It's a couple of pages. I believe it goes up to page 6. So make sure you complete all 6 pages.